Hello, hello, beloved Youest listener, and all of my new friends and friends that have listened before. You are in for such a treat today. I'm so excited for you to get to meet one of my faves. Let me tell you a little bit about Laura, and then we're going to dive in. All right. So today we are joined by Laura Belgray. Laura is founder of Talking Shrimp. I love that name. And co-creator of the Copy Cure, one of the best online courses I've ever taken. Laura is a copywriting expert who helps entrepreneurs find the perfect words to express and sell what they do in a way that gets them paid to be themselves. Hallelujah. Yes, please.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Through her work with hundreds of clients, including online biggies like Forleo, who we love, and Amy Porterfield, who's coming on soon also. She has seen firsthand that putting you into your copy and all through your business is pure magic for getting people to love you up, share your ideas, and happily click your buy button. Yes, please.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to online types, Laura's list of clients and credits include NBC, Bravo, HBO, TBS, Fandango, and many, many more. So if you watch TV and don't skip the commercials, you've probably seen her words so far on air. I love it. Seeing your words on air. I love that. As so funny. I just, Laura, welcome. So happy you're here.
Thank you. Thank you, Julie.
So I want like people to get to know you, but I have to start out, first of all, years ago, I took the Copy Cure. It wasn't actually that long ago, but it feels like a long time ago. And I was like, who is this magician, like magical, brilliant, badass woman? Like, I was like, I have a strangely like girl crush on Laura. Like you are brilliant. And we were saying before we started, I look forward to your emails. Like, I don't really love emails that much, but yours I do. And we were talking all about this recent email. You know, you switched your cereal brands and why you did that and leading to better poops. And I'm like, I love this girl. You're so real. You're just really witty.
Thank you. Yep, that was today's email. Although the poops part was not in the email because that might have been revealing too much. My husband does read them on occasion. If he sees in the first few lines that he's mentioned, he's like, wait, what is this? So there's nothing about his digestion in there or mine, but I'm not afraid of a little poop talk. That was more about him being a rule follower because the idea of it was that he was disappointed in the in the content of raisins in Raisin Bran, and he was like, what's with it? So much for 2 scoops? He kept grumbling about it. I was like, why don't you add raisins yourself? Like, we have Sun-made raisins, why don't you add them like I do? And he was like, nope, that's cheating. He's like, that's not how the game is played. Like, wow, he is a rule follower, which is something I know about him. He is part German, so I ascribe it to that, but he really likes rules. And so the email was about being a rule follower and about me, on the other hand, hating rules and liking to break them. And that's what I like to do in my business. So it was a little segue into email marketing and getting people to read a blog post that I wrote on it.
I love it. And there we are right here, from poop to Raisin Bran to their like lying about the 2 scoops to like rule following to you do not follow rules, which, by the way, high five to you. I also, not a fan. I think a lot of us who go into the entrepreneurial space are like, I'm going to create my own rules. Thanks. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yes, you think so. Although I think there are a good number of people who do love rules, and God bless them, because they're able to just do the things, like do the steps, whatever someone says works, they do it. And those people often go very far. I'm really envious of the people who are like, okay, so I do a webinar, and then, I do 3 pieces of content and then a webinar, which I call a masterclass. And then that leads to the launch. And then I do this, and then I do this, and boom. And they have no self-consciousness about following the rules, which I do. I'm like, I'm going to look like a tool doing these things. Or like, I refuse to do reels and dance and point, no matter how many times people say the algorithm loves it. If you want engagement on Instagram right now, you have to do reels. I'm like, that's a rule I'm not willing to follow.
I got to be honest. I can't see you doing it. Although if you did it, I think it'd be hysterical, and I would totally give you some extra like love and comments. Maybe at the end, because it's on YouTube, you and I could do a little like just
A little pointing and awkward head grooving with the overbite.
Yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
you pay a lot of money to get your teeth not to do that. I'm not sure why we're doing
Right.
what is happening?
All that Invisalign, I'm not going to do it.
Right. On that case alone, I'm not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So can we, for those who don't know you well, and I'm sure I know many do or will get to know you, were you always so witty? Like, talk to us about, when did you realize like you and words were BFF? Like, when did you realize I'm actually damn smart and good at putting some words together and getting them out there in a way that people just want to eat them up? When did this start? Did you always have a knack for writing?
Yeah. Yes, I would say that I always had a knack for writing. And, before adolescence and that awful phase of middle school where everybody hates you, and you become self-conscious and start to criticize yourself and doubt yourself and all that. Before that happened, I was really into writing, and my writing was incredibly derivative. But I remember penning, like I had a little black notebook, and I remember sitting on my bed with the light on at night, like staying up late and scribbling in this little black notebook. And I was penning a novel that was entirely a ripoff of Huck Finn or Tom Sawyer. I'm not sure which, but it was like about two boys in the 1800s in the South, brawling in the dirt and saying like, my pa can beat up your pa or something like that. I don't know, but like, I'm sure my source material was entirely Mark Twain, but so I had no problem with being derivative, with copying, with not one bone in my body said, you need to be more original than this, or this sucks. And I was like, I'm a really good writer. I think people told me I was a good writer, but that's the age where you decide that you're good at things, or you just decide on your own. I think I also thought I was a really good artist, a really good drawer, and good at other things. But I did in high school, I was told I was a good writer. I got good grades for writing, but I was always a blocked writer from, I'd say age 12 on, whenever homework started to get fast and furious and we were assigned papers, I always put it off. I dreaded it. I dreaded doing anything formal, anything for a grade, any kind of writing that was like essay based or for homework, and just agonized over it and always felt like it was going to be wrong. And I remember my teacher in high school, who was also my college advisor, telling me that I should, go out into the world and write reams and reams. And I just remember thinking, I'm sure she's right, but oh, fuck me. I don't want to. So there's been a push-pull always.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That is hilarious and funny. And I would not want to write reams and reams of anything. That does not sound fun. Like, not at all.
I mean, I love to now. I feel like now that I've figured out how to, first of all, how to get paid for it, how to get paid for writing what I want to write about.
Yeah.
And now that I've discovered that the secret to writing is just writing a lot and being willing to have it suck. And that's a struggle still for me when it's not coming out the way I wanted it to. That's still a struggle, but writing lots and lots, writing reams and reams is the secret to good writing. That's what makes you a good writer. And that's what keeps you confident as a writer.
Yeah. So if you're listening, take Laura's wisdom here. Like you have to write to be a good writer. You have to keep writing. You have to write.
Yeah. Yes. And to take the fear out of it, the perfectionism, the fear, that the sting of I suck.
Yeah. It's a real thing, especially, I for those who've had, I remember my teacher who was like, listen, she pulled me aside. She's like, you're trying so hard. You are so flowery. Like you're verbose. I remember I'm like, I know verbose. I know what that means. I know that word. I've looked it up and like, that's not good. That's not what I want to hear. And I just, it's still in my head, right? Like, oh God, I'm so wordy. And I am. People who are listening, if you get my email, I'm a little wordy. However, you write longer emails and I want to read every single drop of, I want the last drop. Like it's like a good cup of coffee. I'm serious. So it can be, it doesn't have to be 3 sentences.
Right.
I think we can talk about that in a little bit, because I feel like there's
Yeah.
a code to crack here.
Yes. Let's come back to being concise and
Yes.
compelling.
Yeah, this is going to be one of those that I go back and listen again for myself.
Okay, good.
Yes. So that's like a little thing whenever I do these interviews. I'm always like, who do I love that I want to again learn from? It's so great. So great. I'd love to hear a little bit about so after college, I know that you used to work on, hold on, did you work, wasn't Sesame Street, but you worked on different TV shows and commercials.
Okay, so, well, the Sesame Street, you technically say I worked on it. I appeared on the show opened to Sesame Street when I was 2 and change, and on the swings in Riverside Park in my little red snowsuit.
No way. I made that up.
I mean,
okay. So you were on, okay. That is so
I was
cool.
on Sesame Street. I didn't really work on Sesame Street, I didn't even get paid for that appearance, but I did work in TV promos. That was not my first real copywriting gig. That was in magazines, but then I switched into TV promos as soon as I found out that was a job. And what TV promos are, if you don't know, is they are the commercials that the networks run for their own shows and all the promotion for their own shows. So, an old school one might be that, the one for HBO says it's not TV, it's HBO. It's like a, 5-second spot. Or, promos that are episodic might say, tonight on Friends, like Rachel and Ross are at it again. So and they're not all so on the nose like that. So I've done promos for all kinds of shows, and more, some more high concept, some more like that, just clip based. I've done them for Bravo shows like Real Housewives, which is as close as I've ever come to my true dream job, which is getting paid to watch Real Housewives.
Oh my God, that's so fun. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. I love it. Yeah. You're like, how do I get paid to watch Real Housewives? I do the promo. There you go.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Unfortunately, you have to put in some of the work, but very rewarding if they actually pick your script and make it into a spot, which they did. So
it's amazing. Oh my gosh. Next would be, I guess, being on it. Although I don't see it in the bill. You don't see it.
No. First of all, one thing to know, if anyone is tempted to get cast on Real Housewives or any Bravo show, you can't beat the show. If you think that you can beat the show by coming across as the awesome one that everybody likes, it's not going to happen. You only get airtime by being an asshole. And if you have nothing to say and nothing mean to say, then you don't get any airtime and you're off the show.
Yeah, they would not cast me. They would not cast you. No. I'd be like, my grandma said, if you have nothing nice to say, you don't say it at all. Like, what are we doing?
Exactly. It's the opposite on Real Housewives. Also, you have to have really great legs, and that's not my best feature. Just because you sit on those reunion couches with Andy Cohen and everyone's legs are bare and greased up. Right. I've noticed that every time. I'm like, nope, that rules me out. Can't wear pants.
Right. You can't wear pants. You got to be greased up, and you got to have shit to say. That's drama. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
All right. Well, that rules that out. That's dream. Oh, it's good to know. Good to know what's so helpful for us to all know. People listening, if you were thinking you might want to be on there, got to up your drama nastiness game, which I don't think is this crew. So I love it though. That's fun that you got to do that. And I remember you on Sesame Street. I watched it religiously. I remember you in your red snowsuit. That's why I asked you. Totally.
Yeah, of course. That's where it came from. Because you remember my big appearance. Yeah. It is probably less than a second, but I'm so there.
Funny. I like this thought, just that, when you have I had a flash, I'm like, I think I remember her. Remember her on the swings. I remember that.
Well, I have it on my website. I'll send you the link so you can verify that that's what you're remembering.
I love it. Send it over. So I know that it seems like so amazing to me. And I know when I was talking to you earlier, and even, getting to do the copy cure with you, which I'd love to talk about. This whole idea of getting paid to be yourself and getting paid to, in your case, the promos and copywriting. I think this is the disconnect that many have, is this being yourself, being
Mm-hmm.
conversational, like not using words that, you know, are superfluous and
Mm-hmm.
over the top. Like, I'm smart, so I'm going to show you. Like, for
Yeah.
me, you know, I had to learn early on, like, not everyone is thinking all the time about their, you know, transformation in their life. Like, it just, so, and I would love to talk about just a lot of that, what you teach, being, you know, getting paid to be yourself, and what are ways to do that? I know that's a huge question. So.
Yeah, no, but I think, first of all, when you are putting your personality into your business, when you make it an expression of your personality through the words that you use and make them sound like you. So you're using words, you're writing like you talk. So that if we read it, we hear it in our heads and it sounds like you, and then we meet you in person, we're able to say, oh my gosh, you're just like I imagined you, just from reading your stuff. Or even if it's not on the page and it's in video. And you know, when you script it a certain way, it looks like it comes across as a hostage video or something that you did for, I don't know, to sell cars, and that doesn't feel like you at all. So and that's a skill that takes some honing, is coming across like yourself, whether it's on the page or in a video, anything that is written word. Yeah. And some, you know, real quick tips for that, especially if it's on the page or in a script, is using contractions. So instead of like, hello, I am so glad that you are here. In a moment, I will teach you, you know, or I am going to teach you how you can blah, blah, blah. Instead, contractions are those combo words like I'm, I'll, we'll, you'll, we're, aren't, can't, you know, all those. And so all it takes to make those is, if you touch type, is your right pinky, right? It hits Mr. Apostrophe. Let's not be afraid of the apostrophe, even though our teachers have drilled into us that we're not supposed to use contractions. Or right. if we come from a corporate background, yes. People have said, like, don't use contractions. But this isn't a legal brief. It's you having a conversation. Right. So for sure, use contractions. You want to read your stuff out loud and, you know, ask yourself, would I say this to a best friend? If it helps, you might want to call a best friend and say, can I read you something that I wrote? And or tell you something, like, can I talk to you about what I want to write, and see if it comes out the same as the way you wrote it. And if not, where it comes out differently than it is on the page, then change it on the page too, to sound more natural, conversational. So remember, the root word of personality is person. So you want to sound like a person. And you also want to remember, a lot of people are like, well, what if I'm, you know, I want to sound professional, or I'm in a B2B situation. I'm a business that sells to other businesses. And I always remind people, like, you are never talking to a business. You're never a business talking to a business. Business doesn't have ears. A business can't read. You are a person talking to a person. And it's a big mistake to confuse formal with professional. Formal is not necessarily professional. I stand by this, that conversational is the new professional for several years now. I mean, it used to be that, you know, ads on TV or any kind of business writing was very formal and buttoned up and stilted, and wouldn't dare use grammatically incorrect structures or sentence fragments or contractions or anything like that. And then think about Apple, right? Their tagline, think different. Any teacher would take a big red pen to that and change it to differently.
Right.
They're at the forefront of branding and brand messaging of our new era. So I think that's a really good example of how it's not formal anymore. That's not where it's at.
Right.
So yeah. Sounding natural is key. And then when it comes to, you know, when people are still like, but I still don't know my personality or know my voice. One thing that brings out your voice is talking about the things that you are into or the things that you hate. So I recommend coming up with, if you don't know where to start, like, I don't even know what those things are. You can come up with what I call a coat of arms for yourself. And so, you know what a coat of arms is, or, on a shield, a coat of arms or a family crest. I guess in ye olde times, a knight or a kingdom would have symbols of things that they stood for, values they stood for, whatever, on their crest or on their coat of arms. When my school had one, it was an all-girls school, and it had like a stack of books, and also our mascot was the beaver, and so it has. All-girls school mascot was the beaver. It had like 3 beavers and a stack of books and an oil lamp to represent hard work and things like that. So what would be on your coat of arms? Like, what things are you super into? Mine might have the New York skyline, a bowl of spaghetti, an ear pressed against a door with a glass, because I love to eavesdrop, and I talk about it all the time. And okay, maybe the Real Housewives of New York.
That's oh my God, I love it, Laura.
Like, those are things that I love to talk about. Hills I will die on. I mean, right now you might just say like all TV, but right now you might say Emily in Paris, not because I love it, but because I hate it. I love to hate it. I hate watched it. I wrote a piece on it in Medium, which has nothing to do with my business. And the reason I wrote that piece, and the reason I write a lot of things, is because I like to show all sides of myself to my audience. I think it brings new people into my audience, but also makes a connection on all different, from all different angles with people, so that they feel like they fully know me and feel connected with me. And that's what brings about loyalty. Like an audience loyalty, that bond with them, where they feel like they know you, they feel like they have hung out with you or would hang out with you in real life. And that's when they want to work with you or buy from you.
This is so brilliant. I just have to say, I have a little like synchronicity woo thing to share, if it's okay. It's connected to Contractions. Okay. And then I have like 500 questions. I'm going to try to channel them all in a succinct way. This is fantastic. And I'm always reminding everyone I do succinct show notes. So this will all be in the show notes. I can always hear people like, hold on, I didn't get that. I got it.
Great.
This is so weird and funny. The whole Contractions, it's true. Like, I've gone back and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I don't need to say like, I am so happy you are here. Like, it just sounds
right.
So
I'm so happy you're here.
Yeah. I'm so happy you're here, bitch. I'm kidding. I never said that. I don't know.
You just did. Okay.
Yeah, I just did. Sorry, everybody. I love you. It's a term of endearment. It's funny. I look for signs in the universe. I'm going to go woo for a minute. Just hang in there. And my phone, I have this weird thing, Laura, where I swear to you, I see signs on the road and I have weird shit that happens on my phone. I'll type something, and the word I'm thinking of, or the thing I need to know, it'll appear like randomly. This is a weird thing that happens. And recently, every time I write the word well, it's always wheel, W-E.
Wheel.
The whole time, the last month, and I'm like, what is up with this contraction? And I'm listening to you. I had chills all over my body. And I'm like, maybe I don't know, maybe it's my sign that it's time to use contractions. So I just wanted to say thank you. I got the message.
Good.
Whoever the spirit guides are, I got that message also. Had a little woo, but I love that, because I think you even said it with the think different. Like, we're conditioned, right, to think like you need to say it this way. You need to make sure it's grammatically correct. I sucked at grammar anyhow, so half the time it's incorrect anyhow. I mean, it just is.
Right, which is totally fine, because it'll sound like you. And I mean, that's the way we talk. We don't talk with correct grammar all that much. And we start things with and but, things that we were told we weren't supposed to start a sentence with, and can start them that way on the page as well.
It's like wearing white when it's not Memorial Day,
right?
Like in the summer. I'm like, you know what? I'm wearing my white pants tomorrow. I'm going to wear them in the winter. Same thing.
Right. No, I was just thinking about that today when I was thinking about rules. I'm like, what's with that? You can wear white in winter, and it doesn't have to be winter white. Screw that. Or summer white.
Yeah. We're telling you, if you are wondering, you can wear white whenever you want, anytime.
A whole mix of whites. Yep.
Yeah. All whites go. Exactly. Any colors you want to wear. They work at any time. So and I'm thinking what's coming up for me, and I know others that have have a list, have an email, communicate through email, which I personally find is one of the best ways to connect and communicate is through email. And,
yep.
You said it, and it kind of just clicked for me, and I'm laughing because I've done copy cure. It's not completely brand new to me. It's something new clicked. Just like you're not talking to a business, you're talking to a person.
Yeah.
Email is the vehicle to speak to somebody and to connect with them. So this, being yourself, using words that you would normally, like, I just started allowing myself, I always say like, you got to do this. And I'm like, well, why am I not just saying GOTTA? And I was like, all right, well, it wouldn't have passed in like ninth grade English, but I'm not in ninth grade English anymore. Who cares? Right.
And you don't need to write, you have got to, or it is necessary that you do this. I mean, you would never talk like that. You've gotta.
No, you've gotta. So I'd love to talk a little bit about just with email marketing. You are so brilliant at it. And I mean, you've already given such great tips here, but maybe how to start thinking about, email marketing, setting up emails in a way that are, I mean, the way you do it, and I'm going to recommend everybody we'll have your website. You've got to get Laura's emails. If nothing, like seriously, it's kind of like watching Real Housewives for you. I like Queer Eye and your emails. That's my entertainment. I literally am like, yay, an email's here.
Thank you.
Let's see what's up with her. How do we start shifting the way? Because I think sometimes what I know from many entrepreneurs is it feels overwhelming. It's another thing you have to do. You got to think of good content. You've got to make sure, the salesy thing, and I know you address this, how to, as you said, get paid to be yourself and really add value.
Yeah. Well, the one reason I love email for getting paid to be you, is it's a format that lends itself to being yourself, to being personable. You think about the origin of email, it is mail, it's letters. Think about how we used to write letters. I mean, if any of you are old enough to have written letters home or to your friends from camp, or at any point in your life, a lot of people have probably listening, maybe have never written a letter in their lives, so they never put a stamp on anything, but we used to write letters, and a letter is from a person to a person. It's intimate, it's private. And so I aim to make every email what I call an EFAB, which stands for email from a bestie. And that is the tone I always want to have. I never want to write anything. I mean, they're not exactly the way I would write to a friend. They have a lot more information in them. And nowadays we text our friends, right? We text short messages, sometimes one line at a time, which drives me nuts. But the way we might have written a friend back when email was how we wrote to our friends. And also, if you're old enough, you can scroll down through your inbox and find from the very beginning of it. Like when I look at my emails from 2006, I get great subject line ideas because they're personable and they have there's nothing businessy about them. So it might be too mean or have to cancel, sad face. That was one of my most open subject lines of all time, actually. And things like that. So channeling that tone where you would write to a friend, things that you would write to a friend in the style that you would write to a friend. And if that's hard for you, once you open an email, in an email window in your, whatever you use, MailChimp, ConvertKit, ActiveCampaign, you could try opening an email in whatever you use to just send out emails, not your newsletter, but what you would, open one up and address it to that friend, that best friend who makes you feel comfortable, who brings out your personality the most, and start it the way you would start it to them. And you can write it all in there and then copy paste. That helps a lot when you're trying to channel that person who's relaxed and natural. So that's the first thing, that the first line of attack is making it an EFAB, making it conversational and friendly and intimate, and writing to one person, picturing one person in front of you, and also writing to one person. I see a lot of people writing their newsletter to a group and saying hey friends, or hi everyone, some of you this, some of you that. And I think that's the wrong way to go about it. You can break my rules. But for one thing, there's, you know, if anyone has a parent who sends them like forwards or sends to a whole list of people, my dad used to do this. He wouldn't be CC, he would CC like 100 people.
Yeah.
And then complain to me. He'd be like, you know, nobody responded to my email about, you know, being safe in parking lots.
Right.
And it's like, well, Dad, first of all, or no one responded to my email about the new cousin I found. I'd be like, well, Dad, first of all, you emailed 100 people. So no one feels any responsibility to respond or even to read it necessarily. They don't feel special. They don't feel like it's to them. So there's diffusion of responsibility there. It's like, I'm not really going to engage with it because I don't have the responsibility to. So you want to write to one person, you know, hi, first name. And you can, like most programs, most ESPs have this, you know, make it really easy to add personalization, to add the person's first name throughout your email anytime you want. So I might say like, I don't know about you, Julie, but blah, blah, blah. Or, you know what, Julie, I really do think that you need to do this, blah, blah. And it's kind of like flirting with someone, like incidental touching and using their names. It works. It gets their attention, even though they know cognitively that it's to a whole list. Yeah. You'd still respond when you see your name. I heard someone say that remember when Coke, maybe they're still doing this. Coca-Cola was doing that personalization on cans.
Oh yeah.
It was like, you know, you could say like Julie's Coca-Cola or something like that. I can't remember how it worked, but apparently that was the most popular version, like the most popular edition ever, that people went nuts for it because people love to see their name and they love to hear their name. And you know, your ears perk up like you're a dog.
Yeah. Even you just giving an example, I'm like, yes, what do I need?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Who, me?
Yeah,
me? Yes, I'm Julie. Right.
I'm like, she's talking to me right now. It doesn't even matter that we're on show and it's not on an email. Whatevs.
Exactly. So yeah, writing to one person and making it clear that it's to them by using their name here and there sparingly. You don't want to do it all over the place. You don't want to put it in every subject line, but sometimes it's a great thing to do. Making your subject lines conversational and informal and curiosity arousing. And I recommend not putting your subject lines in title case, which is, you know, when the first letter of each word is capitalized. That just screams newsletter. It's businessy. And this is a little trick. Customize your preview text, especially if, so the preview text, those first few lines that we see in our inbox window, you see the subject line and then you see the first few lines of the email. Sometimes if you leave it the default, you might end up with that newslettery garbage in there, like, you know, copyright, 2022, all rights reserved, see this, you know, click here to see this email in your browser. That just screams newsletter. And so subconsciously we like make a second decision and say, nope, that's a newsletter. I'm not going to open it. So you want to make everything feel like it is from a friend, an EFAB, from a person to a person.
So good. And I love this idea. Of reading it out loud is brilliant. But I love that idea of getting an email out and addressing it to a bestie, a close friend. That is really like, how would you speak to, you know how to do that. We all know how to speak.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everyone listening, you have someone you're close with, like pick someone, you know, somebody.
Right.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Right. And how would you start a story to them? Like you might say, weird thing just happened, or so check it, or however you would start it to them. You wouldn't say, you know, in an email, if I were writing an email with just you, I would say, Dear Julie.
Yeah.
One day when I was a little girl, I did blah, blah, blah. I would do it totally differently. I'd be like, yo, you know, quick story for you. Did I ever tell you this when I was a little kid? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Like totally. I would, like, gotta share . Yeah. I would just, exactly. This is so good. It does. And you know, it's funny. We're talking about rules, poop and Raisin Bran and rules, but this, I think And now copy, it's getting yourself to get past the rules that we all, I think, we're hammered into our heads.
Yeah.
Like, I have to laugh. This is kind of funny. I don't think I've ever really said this out loud. I always did well because I tried hard, but I was that kid, did my PSATs, and I got one of those. They thought I was an ESL student. I got a notice. I did so poorly on that. It's funny because my parents were like, you getting yourself into some tutoring for your SATs. And it was all right, but I was not all right. They were like, they literally had me signed up for an ESL class. They thought it was
oh my gosh,
not English. So
that's hilarious.
I know so I struggle with grammar. I always did, but I
Mm-hmm.
love hearing this. This is like, screw grammar. Like, just write how you talk. It's awesome.
Right. I mean, it certainly helps to know grammar, understand which rules you're breaking. But even if you don't, if you do just fine, if it's the, PSATs or the SATs that you screw up, but everyone else understands what you're talking about, you're golden.
Right. I feel like this is freedom. I don't have to worry if sometimes I forget if the S's, how many S's do you add on this word and that word? And does it match? I'm like, you know what? I'll get forgiveness as long as I love this. Be yourself.
You will.
Yeah.
You will be yourself. I do recommend spell check if you're terrible at spelling, because you know what, if you have a typo here and there, or spelling error here and there, it's fine. But if you tend to have them all through your writing, then I say use spell check.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I say that for me is important to get right, and this might be just a nitpicky like pet peeve of mine, but the your versus you're. So
yes.
When people say like, you're awesome, and it's YOUR, you're awesome. I'm like, my awesome what?
Right. Right. We need
my awesome hair, my awesome. Yeah. You need that apostrophe. So that's the one I say, learn it and get it right. That's one, like, it's not cool to mess up, because somebody like me is going to be like, oh God, this person really needs a talking to.
Right. She needs some help. Thankfully I got the UR one, but I'm sure there's sums.
Yeah. The sums.
Sums. That's good. That's great. I remember you said this also, to not start out an email with, I hope you're well, or with these,
oh God.
You have so many, Laura. I was making notes and I'm like, all right, we have so many, and I have all these, I have so many questions, but I do want to say that one really stuck out to me because I find myself, I actually am like, I want to know, are you doing okay? But it's so overused. So do you mind sharing about that for a moment?
Yeah, well, and this was a pet peeve of mine before it became a meme during the pandemic, because everyone started writing, I hope this email finds you well. Right. And people would be like, this email did not find me well, or how this email found me. And it'd be like picture of them as a corpse. But before that, I posited that no email that contained anything fun ever started with, I hope you're well. It's it's just a warning shot of this is going to be an ask or something administrative or something. Just, it's such a polite opener, polite and impersonal, that it signals right away that here's something unfun that I have to start with a sunny, polite opening for. So I say just skip it. And, you can, if you have some sort of point, first of all, if you're trying to contact somebody who's important and ask them for something, don't start with, I hope you're well. Say, like, do a little bit of homework if it's important, and say, hey, Julie, your podcast is, killing it. I loved episode number, whatever it was. I love that episode with Laura Belgray. The questions you asked were amazing. Anyway, wanted to know if blah, blah, blah. So like, you can start with a compliment, start with something personal. It just, or it, say we talked about, we talked about cereal. I might be like, hey, Julie, hope you've had your, nice big bowl of Fruit Loops today, because wanted to run something by you. Like, just start with something personal and personable.
Yeah, I love this. And when you're doing the newsletter, your email, obviously you can't say something personal about each person on there, but you, instead of saying, I hope this finds you well, like, no, just take that out. So if you're listening,
take it out.
Take it out. Doesn't add anything.
You can usually take out the first paragraph of anything you've written, but especially that.
Yes. So that's so true. Oh my gosh. I am curious. So going to copy here for a minute, because it's literally It was one of the best courses I have taken. And I want to say that I know you weren't acting, you were being yourself, but the like camera work, it was just beautiful. And it was like, I literally was captivated. I'm like, I'm happy to be watching this. It was brilliant. It was brilliantly done. How
Thank
was
you.
that for you creating that? And, Marie was on here a while back. I love her and I love her work.
Oh yeah.
Was that fun to work with her? What was it like
Yeah.
creating that course? You guys just nailed it.
Thank you. It's always fun to work with Marie. She is such a pro. Like when it comes to, well, all of it, structuring things so that they're really digestible for people to learn, and then getting it all on camera and in a way that flows and all of it. She is a master, and she is such a master at reading off of cue cards and off of a teleprompter. Sorry, they're not cue cards anymore. That's from like the 90s. But reading off a teleprompter and making it sound totally natural. She's amazing at it. Amazing at memorizing the scripts and just having them come right out of her. For me, I was new to that. I hadn't really done it before, so it took a lot of practice. I rehearsed at home, and then I would rehearse in the studio, and then I would do it. And I think it came out well the first time, but the second time was better. Like we relaunched it and re-recorded everything, and I think it was better that time because I kind of knew how to rehearse and how to do that. But people have said to me like, "Oh, I love the videos of you. I love your awkward hand motions."
Yes.
And I'm like, I didn't know that I made awkward hand motions. I guess that's me, or maybe it's me being nervous on camera. Maybe I'm just an awkward person, that awkward presence. But at any rate, like I love it when I feel like I'm being me on camera. The words I wrote the words for myself and made sure that they sounded like me when I read them out loud, when I said them out loud. And I had to change a lot because I'm like, it's actually not something I would say. It looked good on the page, but speaking it out loud, I have to change it a little bit. But it was an incredible experience, and I love that course. I'm so happy that you love it too. That makes me really happy. It comes back out in the spring. We're in 2022, I think April, May, around that mark, around like late April. So
awesome. Yeah. We'll make sure to get, for anyone who ever wants to learn how to write amazing copy, we're giving you tips here. That course. I'm always like, just do that. And you still got to go back. I mean, I have notes and got to go. I mean, obviously I haven't absorbed it all. I still make some of the mistakes, but I learned so much. It was so well done, and it's fun to watch. I was so fun. So cool.
Yeah, we tried to make it bingeable. We wanted it to be, well, at the time, the Breaking Bad of online courses. I would still use that reference point, but I know we've moved on from Breaking Bad to other things. You could say great Game of Thrones, but I didn't like Game of Thrones.
Well, it was bingeable. I think I went through a lot of popcorn, and I know you love popcorn. I was like,
I do.
Yeah. It's like, we must be friendly because we love popcorn.
And I love kettle corn. That's my new thing.
My gosh. I mean, girl, kettle corn.
My favorite.
Yeah. I think you should write about poop and kettle corn. Oh,
God, that's not a good combo. I'm now picturing, it's visually
that's rough.
Too right on.
It is, because right away I'm like, nope, that's not gonna work.
Nope.
Nope, not gonna work. Can you talk a little bit about Talking Shrimp? I love this name. And how did you come up with
it? I always say I wish it were a sexier story, and that it was a really intentional decision. But my husband and I, after we got married, we got reamed in taxes. And I said to my accountant, I was like, I thought our taxes would be better when we were married. And it's like, I don't know what made you think that, but they're notoriously bad when you get married. What you should do is incorporate, because you're both in businesses where you can incorporate. My husband was in restaurants and I was in writing, and he said, just pick a name, preferably something with an available URL, and we'll get it done. And so I had a list of stupid names. I was like, it's not important. It just has to apply to either one of us or, both of us, and mean anything or nothing. And so, believe it or not, Talking Shrimp was available. No one had scooped it up, and we chose Talking Shrimp. Yeah. And so, of course, first I stressed about it because when I was I decided, okay, well, I'm incorporated. I have the name Talking Shrimp. I have the URL, talkingshrimp.com. I might as well make this my website. I was going to put a website up as laurabelgray.com. And I was like, why don't I just do talkingshrimp.com? And my website was going to be just a place to host my reel of TV spots, and which was a new thing. Like, oh, wow, I don't have to send out DVDs anymore to production companies or networks. I can send them a link. And so it's like, I'll put it on talkingshrimp.com. And that is where that's where my business was born, right there. And I did realize years later, or not so many years later, pretty soon after that, and I started like looking into Seth Godin, and his most famous book at the time was Purple Cow. The Talking Shrimp was kind of the same concept. It is something that makes you take notice, that makes you look. So so I was happy with it.
So great. That is such a great, I was like, what's the origin? Mama, what's the origin of the Talking Shrimp? I love it. Of course.
And it went against a lot of business advice, like make it a name that instantly broadcasts what it is. Like I mean, I bought a ton of URLs. I had badasscopy.com and New York freelancewriter.com. I mean, I had some pretty valuable ones probably that I let slide. But I was like, you know what? I like it being vague. I like people asking, what is that? Yeah. And also the flexibility to make it about anything I wanted.
Yeah. It's so great. I mean, I'm thinking like, New York copyright, like that's great, but it's not enticing. Yeah. This is like, what the heck is that? And you're right. It's so, your branding, it's just, it really shows, I think you can translate yourself onto, whether it's copy, words, emails, websites, like you've done a really good job of that. Whenever
thank you,
just looking through your site, and I'm like, I feel her energy. I feel you here. And that's, I think, what we're trying to do is really get ourselves, individuality, who we are, getting paid to be yourself, and also finding people that want to work with you, and I'm speaking to that's important.
Yes. And that's what makes it sustainable, so that you don't feel burned out all the time. Like, I'm attracting all the wrong people, attracting people who don't like what I like, who are not like-minded, who I would never want to hang out with. Or I'm telling people, oh, don't go look at my website. It doesn't sound like me. It's really embarrassing. It's a different person over there. That disconnect is really uncomfortable. Yeah. So the more aligned you are with the words that you put out there, and the content, the energy, all of that, the better you're going to feel about your business and more motivated.
Yeah, this actually leads into just one last thing I wanted to say, that one of the things I really admire about you, just from getting to know you a little bit, and, being in situations where, I remember you saying this, that you really, who you are is who you are everywhere. It's, you are very real. And one of the things, I don't remember where this was, but you had talked about just how you manage your time, something that I like to look at. So using words, made up this whole Youest you. I just thought,
I love
what am I trying to really say? And I was working with my two friends who helped with my website and brand. I was like, it's like there's Youest you, like your most authentic self. And I'm like, oh my gosh, by the way, what's his face? Cat in the Hat. Hello.
Dr. Seuss.
Dr. Seuss has no one's more youer than you. I did not take it. I did not realize he said that, but it's similar. It's not the same. We're okay. But I was like, that's it. No one's more youer. Like you're and it's so funny. I made it up, and I was like, well, I'm going to go with it, because that really feels to me, that idea of what you were saying, aligned, so aligned.
Yes. I mean, I think we've probably all been with somebody, like some romantic partner, where we didn't feel like ourselves, like we were pretending to be somebody else, or pretending to like jazz, whatever it is. And then by contrast, found somebody who made us feel all of a sudden, this is the person who makes me feel like me. Now I'm actually being myself around them, and it is the meest me.
Yes.
And it's the best feeling. That's the person you want to be with. So that's also the business you want to have, that where you feel like you are being totally yourself, and not disconnected, and not, echoing and parroting somebody else's voice that you think you're supposed to sound like.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is important too, to say, see what others are doing in your industry, especially those. I mean, we've talked like with what you're doing. Marie is wonderful. So many other amazing. I love highlighting amazing women. Selena Sue, we love, look,
Yeah.
Amy, Porterfield, so many wonderful women, and still be you. Like, don't, get inspired. Be careful. Don't compare, just get inspired and take ideas. But I've seen this where I'm like, yeah, do not try to be her. That does not work.
Mm-mm.
You gotta
No.
like, yeah, I mean, I got curly hair. I'm going with it. Like, I'm not just
Right.
whatever it is. I mean, obviously more than just that, but it's just be in your own, your own lane. Stay true.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. It's a dangerous road to go down. Try to think that you have to sound like that person that you admire. And we can all smell it. We can all hear it. We're like, oh, that sounds like you're trying too hard. And it's not working for you. It doesn't suit you.
Yeah, it just does. Exactly. It's no bueno. Just don't do it.
No bueno.
Yeah. Last, about energy, I one of the things I admired is I remember we had talked about even just finding a time to do this. And I love the way you give yourself space and time. And I know this is a little bit on a different curve, but I think it's important because, there's a real tendency, I think, in our industry and culture to like hustle and crush it. And like, my adrenals can't do that. My timing can't. And maybe just share. I talk a lot, I like to talk a lot about not just self-care, but like honor your freaking energy. And I think what I've observed, Laura, is you really do that. And it's admirable, truly.
Thank you. I mean, I do it maybe at the expense of a lot of industry. Like I probably should batch all my podcast interviews. I should have batched you with the one that I did yesterday and done them like back to back, plus the presentation that I'm doing tomorrow on writing lucrative launch emails. Like I should have put those all in a row, and then I would just be camera ready. I don't have my ring light. You can see it getting darker now as we talk. Have it set up, but and just like hammered them out, boom, boom, boom. But I know that if I look at my calendar and I see, oh my gosh, I have 3 different video events tomorrow, or 3 different things that I have to prepare for or be on for, I'm like, I start to panic. Like I can't see that on my calendar. When I used to have clients lined up back to back, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't, my day looks horrible. Anytime I look at my calendar and there are a lot of things on it, the day just looks dreadful to me. And I love nothing more than blank space on my calendar. And I have taken to now like lying to my calendar. And so if I go on vacation, I will say, if I'm away for anything, I will add like 2 to 3 days on either end of it and pretend that I'm away for those days and nothing can get booked then. I'm now into like, okay, maybe I'll block off a week or maybe even 2 weeks every month where nothing can get booked in. How great would that be? And it is just, it's free space for me I'm still going to do things. I'm still going to write my emails and do whatever I'm going to do business wise, but no appointments, nothing I have to show up on time for, because that's something that gets me a little bit stressed for each thing. And it's worth it to do them, but I like to do as little as possible and like keep some weeks and some days totally free of that stuff.
Oh, I love that. I think I get a lot of comments about others listening who are exhausted and adrenal fatigue. And I think what you're saying is so wise. And, not all of us have that energy of, I'm listening to him like, oh my God, this sounds like unbelievable. And I love the idea of cushioning, with a vacation days before. I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds hilarious. Yeah. And
yes. I call them buffer days. You might call it padding, whatever you want to call it. It's just like nothing is allowed on the calendar for those days.
Yeah. And then you honor that, which goes to that boundary piece. And I just think, some of us working on the boundaries, but you do it. You really, I know you talked about it, having those buffer days and being really clear, nothing will happen on those days.
Yeah. And I mean, it's totally legit. If somebody says, well, how about if someone says to me, can we meet at 10 or 11? Do you have those times free? I'll just say, oh, I don't. I can do after 2 that day, or I can't do that day at all. And no one's going to question it and be like, well, I am a morning person. Can't I, can't we do it then? Like most people in most situations will honor what you can do, unless you're, in a job where when you have to answer to somebody else's scheduling.
Yeah.
But if you have your own business, it's totally legit to say, if you're not a morning person, to say only after 1 or only after 2. And you don't have to explain why. You don't have to say, because I'm not my best, I'm not my freshest until then. You can just say, that's what time I have available. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember when you'd said that before, it gave me such permission. I know it's something I really looked at energy, and for myself, and I know many others feel this way. And I realized, I really don't love things that are in the morning. That's time to, I don't know what it is, but I'm slow. I also realized I am not as, I used to think, oh, it takes me 20 minutes to get ready. No, it takes me 4 hours. It takes me,
same.
Not makeup, hair. I'm talking just, I don't know.
Getting into it, into the, easing into whatever you have to do. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it's like my husband and I have an ongoing argument about what time we leave. Like when we have a place on Long Island that we go to usually on weekends. Yeah. And he's always like, can't we leave earlier? Can't we leave at 9? I'm like, I need my morning. It's like, what do you mean you need your morning? What about your morning? How are you giving up your morning by sitting in the car? Like, I just am. I need a lot of hours to drink my coffee and go for my walk and do all my things. And my morning is very precious to me. Nothing can encroach. That's all to say, I would, on the other hand, not advise anyone to be unprofessional and call it having boundaries. I've been on the other end of that sometimes, like a photographer who no longer had never handed over the photos and then said oh, I had to take them out of my hard drive. And, I didn't give them to you because I needed clearer boundaries that week or something. I was going, because I had already finished the scope of work and I put up boundaries, and I was like, no, that's not okay. And you don't have to announce that they are boundaries.
Yes. Good point. These are internal, the inner voice you don't say out loud. This is just for you.
Right. Right.
My own little time. Exactly. Yeah. Just for you to know. Right.
Otherwise you come across as a victim-y self-help drone who's just well, I'm really working on my boundaries. So I won't be able to talk to you until noon.
Right. No, it's true. I'm well, and I can help you if you need coaching around that, but that is not something you say.
No.
Right. Very good point. Well, I'm glad we went into this because I know it's we took a little detour, but I will say, honoring your energy and what works for you in your morning times, you've grown this incredible business. You're helping so many people. You have, I know, many other courses as well, and wait lists, and I want to say this because you're not hustling and hurting your sleep and yourself to do that. And I love that about you, Laura. This is, to me, it's hashtag the new normal. I hope, at least for me, I want this to be the new normal.
Yeah. No, it's very important to me. And I think it is absolutely doable. You don't have to kill yourself to make things work. Sometimes you might have to push. Sometimes you might have to, I've gone through phases where I was kind of on fire, and I felt motivated. And so I was doing a lot. But I can't, that's not sustainable for me to keep pushing and pitch this and pitch that and go on this thing and, and then create a keynote and all that. Though that can come in waves, but I can't do it all the time. And I do not want to.
Yeah. Great. No, so helpful. And I love that about you. Acknowledge it. It's very inspiring to me. I'm someday I'm going to have those buffers also, those buffer days. And do it. Yes.
Do it now. Do it now.
I just heard.
See what happens.
Start tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Whatever. It's the beginning of the year. What?
Yes. Yeah. Do it this year. Do it this January is endless. You've got so much of you have a year of January left.
Yeah.
So already starting the first month of the year. Yeah.
Good point. All right. Anyone else who's in with me, let me know. Are you going to make some buffer days? So before we wrap, I always ask this question again. It's a little woo, but that's how I roll.
I'm woo adjacent, right? That's how I identify.
You're woo adjacent. Oh, I love that. Okay.
So I'm open to it. I'm not deep woo. I'm woo adjacent.
You're woo adjacent.
Yeah.
Nice.
So roll
I love
with
that.
it.
I think I'm going to write an email about that, Laura.
Oh, good. I have a post about it. You can it might inspire you, or you might not want to look at it till you've written your email. So you feel like
I don't
you're doing it straight from that sometimes happens, right? You don't want to be influenced. So look at it after. Yeah.
Yeah. That's actually really quick. A good point. Sometimes I don't like to read too much because I don't want to just be bouncing off others. Like I want to make sure I go within first.
And it can be devastating when you're like, oh, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
But better. Now I can't. So do yours and then look at mine.
And then I'm going to look
yes. Right. But anyway, you were going to tell me something woo.
A little woo is I call them heart flares, where we just had this, to me, this was a delicious conversation. I feel like Fruit Loops, spaghetti, whatever, yumminess. And I always feel like I don't know, you may not have one, but sometimes there's this little, like, I didn't say this, or this little thought came through. So I always ask if there is a heart flare that you want to share, something coming through that maybe I didn't ask, or just I had no idea, whatever might come through to you. You want to say?
I don't think so. I think I keep interjecting them all throughout, and you give me pauses to do that, which is great. I want to give props to you because I think you're a fabulous interviewer. Aww. And I really do think you bring out the you is you, or the me is me. I've felt so comfortable talking to you. I think we've covered so many different topics, and I have loved this conversation. So props to you for that.
Thanks, Laura. And thanks for saying my name so many times. It was really fun. My ears were like,
Julie.
Yeah. Like, yes, I love it. I love it. Remember, everyone, people love hearing their name. Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, this was, again, delicious. I always rate my conversations by how much my cheeks hurt, and my cheeks are killing me.
Mine too, actually.
What'd you say?
I said mine are too.
Yay.
Julie.
Yeah. Thank you, Laura. All right. Thank you for being here, for being you. And I want to remind everyone listening, everything's going to be written out. I got you covered. I got your show notes. Don't worry. You can always transcribe and all that. I do transcribe it, but I will get you. And I hope for all of you listening that I should really speak to one person, actually, going by your.
No, actually, you know what? That's for email, but for podcasts, I think people do feel like a community when they're listening. They feel like part of a group. It's different. It's because that comes from radio,
Yes. I'm so glad.
From a broadcast.
This is like the show that didn't end ever, because I don't want to get off ever.
Right.
With you.
You keep trying.
I keep trying when I'm like, one more thing. But I'm actually glad you said that, because when I tap into my me is me, and I always feel like, it's a community. This is such a beautiful souls from all over the world that are listening. I am telling you, I'm very grateful. And so I do feel the community, and I'm glad to know that, because I was going to switch it up, but I'm happy to know I'm doing it the right way, talking to y'all at the same time.
Yeah, awesome. I think you are. And also, if you write emails and you want to say, hey, friends, go for it. I just, for me, I think it's better to talk to one person, but you want to talk to a bunch of people and make them feel like a community. That's fine too. I think that's not the way people read an email, and that's not the way they feel when they read an email, but you are welcome to do it. Break the rules, go for it.
If you heard nothing else, it is break some rules today, friends. Laura, thank you so much. This was such a joy. And again, cheeks hurting or beyond a 10. So I know good times.
Thank you so much. And you know what? I will say, this isn't a heart flare, but where to come find me. If you're not, like you're walking around listening right now, and you might walk into a poll, but you can type in talkingshrimp.com on your phone, and you will find freebies. I have a guide to subject lines, which is amazing, and a free guide, also free for non-sucky copy, 5 secrets to non-sucky copy. And you will find them all there at talkingshrimp.com. So come say hi. I'm glad
you added that, talkingshrimp.com. And I will tell everyone, you must, I have printed those. I'm not kidding. I refer to them, the non-sucky copy and the headlines. They're amazing, freaking awesome. Yeah. I've had my copy person who helps me with copy sometimes. I was like, you need to get this. So she loved it.
Awesome.
So there you go.
Good.
There you go. Oh, thank you. Thank you. You're amazing. So much love.
Thanks. right back at you. Thank you, Julie.